And I'm not saying, be a fake version of who you are, but take your personality, take your likes, and just expand it by 5 or 10% minimum for when you're hitting record on the camera, and you'll naturally see more progress with your content.
What would you say to someone who's listening to this who says, I don't want to be inauthentic?
Well, there's a difference between being inauthentic and being like the truest version of who you are, because I'll give you an example. Like, I'm an introverted person by nature. I don't like speaking in front of big groups of people. I actually find it incredibly hard to create content in general. And I personally haven't created content now for my personal page, which is going to obviously change coming into the new year. But I haven't done that since 2019. I stopped talking to the camera. But I can tell you now that who I am when I speak to you, who I am when I speak to friends and family, is the complete different person than when I'm sitting in my car and I'm driving along and my favorite song comes on and I'm blurting out that and I'm singing it and to like the top of my lungs.
Britney Spears.
It could be that. We'll maybe put what it is in the comments below, but I'm a completely different version of myself then than I am in front of everybody else. And that's what I mean by when I say you need to take your personality and expand it by 5 or 10%. You don't need to be a different person. You don't need to create this fake, false version of who you are. But what you do need to have an understanding of is if you don't bring that energy and you don't create that alter ego, then chances are your content's not going to be as good, because no one wants to listen to a monotone motherfucker when they're scrolling through content. It's harsh, but it's true.
Yeah, it's also what do you want to be known for. So like, if you think from first principle thinking, think that backwards. So like I said it earlier, but like be, do, have. So like think about like the character traits that you need to have as an individual of who you want to become. And if you start to like take out those character traits and act like them, eventually become that person.
And did you do this in the beginning stages?
Yeah, I was trying to have very clear and intentional what I wanted.
But did you, maybe this is a practice that some people at home can do if they're confused about what they should be doing. Like, did you actually put pen to paper? Did you sit there? Did you look at specific people who you were inspired by in the beginning stages of when you were starting out online? And did you like write down, like, this is what I want to look like, this is how I want to sound like?
Yeah, and I could give you an example. I've done that for 2026.
You've done it for 2026?
In terms of like character traits of who I want to be.
And who have you taken inspiration from that?
Someone asked me this the other day, it might have been Charlie asked me this. It's like, who is it you want to, like, there's not one single person who's like, that's the fucking dude I want. So I want to take pieces of people.
Yeah, and that's the great thing.
There's a exercise called Traits of the Greats by John D. Martini taught me this. And basically, I'll study people. So I'll binge a certain person's YouTube podcast and like books, and I'll try and absorb as much as I can from them, and I'll take like the traits I like from that, and then I'll go to the next person. So if I was to look at people who I like Alex Becker, who owns Hyros. I like his nerdiness when it comes to like biohacking, longevity, that sort of things. I like Alex Hormozy from some of the business aspects. I like I like Grant Cardone from his thought process in terms of like money and wealth creation. I also like him from like, I think he's a very good role model as a father. Yeah. So I'll try and look for people for certain character traits. Like Andy Elliott, I like in terms of his leadership style. I think he's a very good leader and he brings people together and creates communities. So I'll look at different people of like, okay, I like the way he does this. I like the way he does this. I like the way he does this. It doesn't mean I want to like necessarily be that person every realm. And someone said this to me about, say, for example, Alex Hormozy is like 100% all in business, like fuck everything else in life. Like I'm like 80%, like 70, 80%. Like I kind of actually want to do some shit as well and kind of enjoy myself. So there is a point where you have to understand what is your own actual goal, because the biggest issue that I see is you get what's called mimetic goals, which is where Mike has this goal and I look up to Mike being like, oh, I need to do that. Or like, let's use Alex Hormozy as an example. He did a book launch that made 100 million. Cool. So like Alex did that, then therefore I've got to go and do that because that's what he did. Well, do you really want to do that? Like, why do you want to do that? And I think that's where people need to kind of take things back. So like a good exercise for people is like, what are the actual character traits in terms of what you want? So for me, one of the things I've had to focus on the last few years is like kind of being stoic and calmer and trying to be more controlled rather than more aggressive and kind of all guns blazing, because I used to get very anxious because I was trying to do too many things.
And is there any actionable steps that you've done that people could then adopt? Say for instance, if someone's watching this and they they kind of have a vague idea of how they want to be portrayed on social media or come across in their business or whatever it is, and they can take inspiration from certain people, how would you then make that an actual actionable thing? Like, what's the sort of steps that you would take to be able to say, oh, okay, I can see Alex Hormozy over here doing this, I'm going to try and take that piece of what he's doing, but then how do you actually play that out? Do you consciously think about it before you're creating the piece of content?
So,
because that's the stuff that I don't think that's in your mind. Like, I don't see that.
That's psychological. So like, I'll give it a good example. So like, I'll wear vests sometimes which are all branded and stuff, right? So a distinct thing, I remember, like, Alex Hormozy wears his own branded vests. Andy Elliott said to me in TKMA, he's like, dude, like, you're fucking jacked as shit. Like, why are you wearing fucking a Gymshark vest? You just need to wear your own brand stuff. It's like, oh, I have got my stuff. It's like, just wear your stuff all the time.
Right.
I was like, okay, I kind of see your point.
Yeah.
So like, I'll take little things like that from people. And I think this is also the value if you live in an inspiring environment or if inspiring people coach you, is you can take like little snippets of like code that sticks in your memory that then you start to learn the patterns of what successful people do, because human beings learn from mirroring, which is why, okay, if I see this person's really successful doing this, if I do it as well, chance I'll probably do that. The easiest way to take that back down to like base principles is people's like daily habits and actions. So like, what time to get up, how do you structure your day, like how do you run your meetings, blah, blah, blah. If you try and do what successful people do every single day, then you kind of become successful. But I will bracket that with where they were at the stage you're at. So like me, for example, now copying Grant Cardone where he is in life is not going to be very helpful. But for where he was maybe 15, 20 years ago, if I could see how he ran himself then, would probably be very relevant to where I am now.
And what do you think the percentage of people that would actually go out of their way to do that? Because I think a lot of people, they would think to themselves, oh, this makes logical sense. Like, I can make a list of things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis, but the list isn't actually you doing the thing. So it's like, do you feel like there's a specific, almost like breed of individual that has more chance of being successful in business? And for the people that, you know, maybe don't have that self-belief or that self-confidence, that might want to think that they can create this version of themselves, they can write the list, but then they procrastinate on actually doing the thing, what would be your advice for them?
So perfectionism is often procrastination in disguise. So people are waiting for the perfect time. It's just like, fucking do it and figure it out, because you'll spend so long thinking about doing things, you should have done it in the first place. And the way I try and think in terms of for people to be successful is there's a couple of key skills and character traits you need to have. One is a very high level of self-awareness. So like catching your thoughts, catching the way you think. Second is being very self-analytical and like critical of yourself. So which I said earlier is a blessing and a curse, because
it's hard to do that though.
Because then it can also mean you're unhappy, because cool, I made loads of money, but then I'm like, yeah, but like I could make more. So it's like there's two sides to every coin. So like, and also I think I might be speaking to this about the other day, but if you have a high level intellect, it's also more likely you're probably slightly less happy, because you can overthink things and you think so much. So there is always two sides to one coin. And then thirdly is pattern recognition. So if you can see patterns in your life, okay, if I get up early, I do my work, I work out, I eat correctly, I sleep, I plan what I need to do tomorrow, and I do that for a couple of weeks and I start getting momentum in my business, maybe if I just keep doing this, it's going to keep going. Or if like, okay, at the weekend, I'm going to go to the beach clubs and get pissed all weekend, and then on Monday I wake up and I'm not very productive. You also kind of need to be aware of kind of pulling yourself away from that. And I think a lot of people just aren't willing to have the harsh internal conversation with themselves to pull themselves back.
I think that, but I also think as well that most people online, they don't actually see what it takes to get to a certain like level.
I have no idea.
Because with all due respect to that individual as well, they can't really understand it, because all that they're seeing is the external perspective that someone wants to show them on social media, which 9 times out of 10, which is always going to be the highlights of someone's life. So if you're comparing yourself, which everyone says, you know, don't, comparison is the thief of joy, don't try not to compare yourself, but it's human nature to do that. But if you're looking at someone on social media, say for example, who looks like they're living the ideal life, looking like they're crushing it on business, looking like they're enjoying themselves, going out partying and having fun, then that's almost like, for that individual, that's the interpretation of what success looks like, when the actual success is sitting in a fucking dark room and just working and working and working and just being meticulous with the amount of work that you're actually doing, relentless with it. And I think you're like like the mountaintop of that, whereas your ability to just literally zone in and just work and work and work for the sake of working's sake is what separates you apart from everybody else. But not very many people look at it that way.
Now, if you enjoyed this clip and you're a coach, creator, or a business owner and you want help in terms of how to scale your business using ads, AI, content, marketing, a lot of things we talk about on the show, then hit the link at the top line of our description in the YouTube video. You can book on a call with us and we'll walk through the whole process, audit your business, and show you where there's huge, huge opportunities for you to scale.